Welcome to the Resilient Kids podcast. I'm delighted to be back here sharing with you conversations with parents that help you to be the best parent that you can be. I would like to take this opportunity also to say thank you to all of those of you who've been listening. And in the 12 weeks since we have been on air, we have managed to get ourselves into 12 different countries, which is absolutely exciting. So let's sit back and enjoy this episode of the Resilient Kids podcast. Good morning. Sorry. This is our Resilient Kids podcast, and today I'm meeting with Fiona, and the podcast is to support parents to raise resilient kids, and I'm talking to kind of everyday people in our community about what's going on for them. So, Fiona, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Kia ora, ko Fiona toko ingoa. My name is Fiona. I'm a pretty ordinary working mum. So I work full time and come home and I try and make the dinner, make my son do some homework and wrestle him into bed or a bath. So I just have those same challenges and probably feel as stretched as every other working parent out there.
How old is your son?
So my gorgeous little boy is 8 years old, and it's really important context that you know that I adore him. He's the most gorgeous, thoughtful, caring, compassionate little boy and a very much wanted baby. So while me and my husband for sure have our challenges, at the heart of it, we adore him and love him very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if your mother doesn't say that about you, the world's a sad place, isn't it? Hey, so what have you been thinking about that you'd like us to talk about today?
Yeah, so there are some really common times of tension in our house, and they're generally around the transitions. So the big times are getting up in the morning and trying to get out the door in time for school, and big time. And the challenges there are he doesn't seem to listen to verbal instructions, and I think particularly at night, I've worked an 8-hour day. I left home at 7 o'clock in the morning. I get home it's 6-7 o'clock at night, got the dinner on, and by the time we get into bed, having to repeat, it's bedtime now, you must do your teeth, and he hasn't done his teeth, and repeated verbal instructions to the point I always feel like I'm nagging. And if we take bedtime as a quite specific example, it can take me about an hour and a half to get him into bed and asleep. And he'll always be hopping out of bed and finding, oh no, I just need to find this thing, or I just need to, do you need to re-record that bit with the phone?
It's fine.
I just need to find this thing, or I just need to do this, or I've just got to do this. There's always something he finds to do at the last minute. And he's hopping in and out of bed. And it's really hard just to get him to calm down. And I've tried kids' magnesium and Epsom salt baths. And I think it's that time of day when, we are both quite frazzled as parents. Like, we want to go to bed ourselves. We're tired. We've had a long day. We need some time to unwind. And instead, I've got home, made the dinner, washed up. And it's like, I really just need to just sit and be for a bit. And instead, I'm spending an hour and a half trying to calm you down to the point that your body and your mind is rested enough to sleep. And then it's my bedtime. It's so late.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's really difficult. So you talked about sort of, thinking about the chemical things that are going on in his brain and
the magnesium, whatnot. What are the strategies that you have come across over the times that you've been trying to work through this?
Yeah, so what I've learned is to better signal the transition time. So start to tell him, okay, in 10 minutes time, we're going to start to get ready for bed. So if he was playing with some Lego, I'd say, how long do you think it would take to finish that? And he might say, I've just got to do this and this. And I'm like, okay, so I think that's about 10 minutes. So once you've built that section, we'll walk downstairs. I think just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But like, not just go, well, this is too hard, I'll let him stay for another half hour, but just keep going, keep trying, even if I just have to repeat myself over and over again. He did used to really enjoy being read stories, and that used to calm him down. That's not working so much now. So we've been using some audiobooks. But physically, sometimes just to get him to be still, I have to like massage his head or something.
Okay.
Like physically the physical touch from his mum seems to be the only thing that settles down his antsy little body and mind.
Yeah. So you've talked about signaling to him. You've talked about your own persistence and keeping going because you know how important it is for everyone to get some sleep. And you've also talked about the idea of maybe trying some magnesium, and you've also talked about massaging his head and thinking about that. So all of those things, it sounds like they kind of work for a bit. You also talked about doing some reading for him, but there's nothing there that actually sticks for very long. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it's still taking me about an hour and a half every night to get him off to sleep. And that's a long time, which means at 8 years old, it's around 9 to 9:15 before he's falling asleep.
Yeah.
And I really worry that he's not getting enough sleep to be able to function well at school the next day. And then the problems play out in the classroom.
Yeah. And I suppose that's, he's tired in the morning. And so that's why it's hard to get him out of bed in the morning. So it is a bit of
then it's another time of tension in the morning because he can't get up enough to want breakfast and things.
So I'm wondering about his ability to agree about what his bedtime is.
I hadn't thought about that.
So that at the beginning of the term or the beginning of the week or whatever, you sit down together and you create an agreement about what time his bedtime is.
Yeah, and then he has some control over it.
Yeah. And that you're also saying, I suppose, by doing that is that he has to take responsibility for getting himself to sleep. Because it sounds at the moment you're doing it, it's your job to make him sleep, but actually what you're wanting him to learn is how to get himself to sleep by himself and to recognize what he needs.
Yeah.
So do you have any times that you sit down as a family and talk about what the kind of boundaries and the rules are in the family?
No.
Okay. So perhaps that might be a cool thing to begin. So if you think about in your work, going into work, we have conversations about expectations about what we do and how we do them. And so you've got all those skills, you know how to do that, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it's different at home. You just get home and you're tired and you think you just try and do the same old thing because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So I'm wondering whether you could use those skills around setting some agreements around how you might work together, might work at home as well. And what are the values that you have in your family that will help underpin those things?
Yeah, I like that. Because we could then talk about how, one of our most important things is looking after our health. And to do that, you need to get adequate sleep.
Yeah.
So that you can be fit, because he's a very active little boy, he needs to be running around all the time, but in order to have that energy to do the sports and the running and all those fun things, he needs
nice
sleep,
yeah,
good food.
Fantastic. And so the idea that the three of you can sit down and talk about building a bit more structure into your life, which allows you to be able to have the family time that you want. And I suppose it might also be, what does that look like in the morning? What time do you have to get up? What time? And so that he gets to make those decisions. And I'm thinking about in our family when my kids were little, I used to say to them, so do you want to go to bed at 2:45, 10:45, or 5:45? Because clearly it didn't matter to me as long as they were in bed by 7, right? But it's that idea of providing some choice and therefore them having some buy-in to the decision.
Yes, I think he would like that. Some control would be good for him.
Well, I'm just wondering whether or not you want to have a crack at that strategy, and then we could come back and see how it worked.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And then we could share that, whether or not it worked with the group, with the people listening.
Yeah, and would you take it to the next step to say, what are the things you would like to do in your bedtime routine that would help you to relax?
I think that's brilliant. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm assuming, because having my mum read a story to me every night was a very special and lovely time, and for me, I actually really love sitting with him and reading a story, but actually it might not be special for him or something.
And I can remember my father used to put us to bed as children, and we always had a choice. It was his job to put us all to bed. We were 4 of us, and we could choose a hide. So we'd go and hide in our bedrooms, and he'd have to find us. And it was, he could obviously tell where we were if we were hidden under the bedclothes. But he always used to make it into a game. A dive, and he'd throw us onto our beds. A jump, which meant that we could jump off the top of the wardrobe onto the bed. My mother wasn't so keen on that one. A scare, so he'd come in and scare the wits out of us. Or a tickle, and a story, I think. Yeah, and it would be a made-up story. So we would have these choices when he put us to bed every night. And so thinking about that was always a really fun thing to do.
Oh, I like that, but he really likes hide and seek. So if a way to get him into his bedroom would be, why don't you go and hide? Do you want to go and hide in your bedroom?
So again, these are options that you could pose to him about the choices that he could make, so that he could have a little activity that he had every night before he went to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, something that's fun and physical. And he has some choice over that. That's good, because it makes bedtime into a fun thing, not mum always nagging. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, I like that. I think he would too.
Cool. So shall we stop now, and then we'll come back and see how you get on in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona.
That's a good practical idea.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me today and for sharing your fabulous ideas. Remember, if you want some more support, please go to www.resilientkids.org.nz. Reach out. I'm really happy to reply to an email if you're wanting resources, and or to pick up some support through coaching or our online parenting course. Go well, take care, thank you.